This is Eternal Return, but I can only use blue items. I challenged myself to win a game of ER under some extreme restrictions. I could only use blue items, meaning most of the items were unfinished or fairly weak. It was going to be a tough challenge, but we'll see how it goes. Some rules I set out for myself are the obvious: I can only use blue items. This means that I can only use blue items as the highest tier. I could use green and white if I really wanted to, and that also included blue food and blue SP drinks. So that means no fish and chips and no combo meals, nothing. The next rule was that I had to play solos. Duos or squads would just lead to me getting carried, so I had to pull a win on my own. I also told myself that I wasn't going to just sit in the bush until final zone with like 5 weapon mastery and try to get a timer win. Next, I can't use traps. My damage had to come from weapon mastery I hustled to get during each game. And the final rule was that I can't use infinite scalers, because if I got a lower ranked lobby, chances are I could be on par with them with Nadine or Shukai. Now, speaking of taking advantage of lower lobbies, I am definitely not good enough at this game to take advantage of a full lobby. I'm slightly above average and have been playing a little bit longer than the average player, since about Kathy's release, but nowhere near a top player by any means. However, here's a screenshot of me killing Mizroy in my first season. I began this challenge scourging the blue weapons. I wanted to pick a weapon that was decently strong as a blue, but I was also comfortable with. I'm a Razi main, but I also play Hedgen, Nadine, and occasionally some Rio and Hart. Pistol and bows. Pistol was definitely out of the question, and I thought about using a bow user, but something else caught my eye. Blue snipers seem to be a little bit stronger than the other blue weapons, probably because of the limited ammo. I decided on Aya, because I definitely wasn't going to play Bernice. I had played some sniper Aya, but mostly was familiar with her kit from Pistol. I wanted to be able to hard farm hunts to try and compensate for the weak items. I decided on the budget version of the crit build Aya currently has. Here's the items I was rolling with. Game 1 started off fine. I started Doc, got all my items, got my rocks stolen by 11, which I'm used to since I play Razi, juked her, and then proceeded to get griefed by her? I don't know what she was doing, but she followed me around Uptown for a while. Getting my blue weapon, I decided to farm some mastery off of her, but I didn't realize the sheer amount of people that were in Uptown this early. I heard some griefing happening in the top part of Uptown, and went to steal a kill from Jackie. I finished collecting my items and moved on to the beach. Then challenge number 1 happened. I ran into Chloe. With the nature of Chloe's ultimate, I knew she would be almost impossible for me to kill, and I wanted no part of that. Thankfully, a Dai-Lin joined the fight, and I was able to get away. For now. The Chloe eventually found me again, but I guess she felt I was delaying her build too much, or I wasn't a threat, and left me alone. Just 1 item left, and Forest was my final zone. I wasn't able to get there because of all the early game skirmishing, and settled on Cemetery to get my final feather and bamboo. I teleported right on Dai-Lin, and that was the end of game 1 for me. I had came 10th though, right in the middle of the lobby, so I felt like this challenge was doable. For game 2, I decided I need to work on my strength. I had decent ping, so I wanted to play to the fact that I could get my looting process done quick and start looking for kills with my blue items. I decided to go to the bathroom during loading lobby and didn't make it back in time as game started. We've all been there. So much for my fast pacing. I got my unlucky spawn in Dock, but with no 11, the rocks were mine. However, my Uptown pathing had already been looted. The good thing about only needing blue items is that I had way less items to grab the farther my route progressed. I managed to get all my full build before even seeing another player. My knowledge of Eternal Return isn't overly high. I remember some recipes by memory, but a lot of them I miss out on. That's generally why I played Nadine, is to try and help myself learn different recipes. If there's one thing I want to get better at, it's improving my crafting mastery. If you have tips, please let me know in the comments. I moved on to Chapel to farm hunts and grab my leather. I checked the lobby for Nadines and felt that archery range was probably safe to farm since there was none in the game. I was correct. I saw a meteorite spawn in school and I figured someone would come for it. Since I didn't know how much damage I was going to do, I wanted to test it out on someone who would be more focused on getting objective than killing me. Rio was the lucky winner, and I actually held my own in the fight against her. Eventually I burned through too much food and surrendered the meteor. It's not like I could use it anyway. I just figured denying resources might be a good course of action. I moved on to Hotel, where there was wolves waiting for me. I was feeling pretty good because I had a decent amount of weapon mastery and had already passed my game 1 ranking. I walked into school again and got vision and noticed something on my minimap. Jessie had also entered school, and she had a lot of kills this game. I figured there was no way in hell I could fight a Sylvia regardless of how many kills she had, so I gave her the runaround and ran off. When daytime hit, I noticed just how many people were in Uptown and headed over to try and steal some kills. I entered from the top, hoping I could catch some people fighting. This really wasn't a good idea. I poked out a low SP Razi and then got caught between a Bianca. I waited for them to engage and tried a third-party kill on Bianca. With a better W angle, I probably could have gotten her. Rosie ended up killing the Bianca, so I figured she would have been low in the red zone fight, right? Wrong. I face checked her bush and she was literally full health. That would be the end of my game too as she ran me down. 5th wasn't so bad, and I was getting closer to my goal. After 2 games, I realized that my playstyle for this challenge was very poke and run away, trying to commit to fights as little as possible. I thought about why I chose Aya in the first place. She has a dash, she has a long-range Q poke, and a W that people sat in case they ran straight at me. I decided to switch to a skill amp build. Here's the build I was going for now. Game 3, I was now starting in Forest. Considering how many gemstones I needed for this build, I was thankful no one else was starting with me. I made my way to school and collected all my items, stocked up on SP drinks, and moved to Alley. After debating what buildie I should max, I decided on Q. From a power standpoint, I think W is better, but for the psychological standpoint, I figured people aren't going to expect me to be all blue items. I felt like when people see Aya W, they're just trying to get out of it as quickly as possible, and they have it burned into their mind that it's going to do a million damage to them. I moved to archery range, shared some poke with Sylvia. She definitely didn't check my items because she backed off after a few autos and Qs. Got my items and moved to hotel to finish my build. As I was finishing my items, I ran into a Bianca who was definitely still getting used to playing Bianca and was able to run her down for a kill. Yeah, that wolf brought her low enough, but that was my first kill that wasn't a third party. I was pretty hyped. I'm playing on the newer patch, so I noticed that Alpha had actually spawned in hotel this game. I wasn't sure how long it was going to take me to get it, but I figured if I could deny a mithril from somebody, that would be a good play. None of the mithril gear was blue, so I couldn't use it for anything. None of the gear was blue, but mithril water was. I made some mithril water and felt pretty good about my food and drink this game. My plan of action was now to control 2 or 3 zones with vision and farm mastery on whoever walked into them. I decided I wanted to try and control archery range, school, and hotel, picking up hunts as they came off cooldown. When clearing some hunts in school, I heard a fight going on in archery range, thanks to my vision control. I pulled out my sniper, but the Bianca healing just baited me into alerting them where I was. They disengaged from each other, but thankfully a Leon ran one of them into me, and I was able to pick up the successful third party. I was sitting with 2 kills and felt I had a pretty favorable matchup against Bianca's, considering the champion was still relatively new, and I kept my distance. Archery range and hotel were closing soon, and I decided that I wanted to take up a new zone. Bad idea. I TP'd to factory where there was a Yuki and a Luke running around. I sneaked the wolves away and got out of there as fast as I could. Gap closing melees that could kill me in 2 seconds because of how squishy I was wasn't the play. I grabbed vision in hospital and thought about my next course of action. I hadn't made it far enough to worry about Wick yet, but with her spawning soon, I wondered if I could steal it from somebody. People were fighting in factory, and I thought about trying the third party and pick up some kills, but I got flashbacks to Game 2's Uptown. I figured they were all distracted with themselves and I could try my luck at Wick. And believe it or not, with Aya's blue items, Wick really isn't the slowest. I looted her body and headed towards Pond to try and make taproots for the crafting XP. Not sure what had been going on this game. Pond bears were still alive too, so I helped myself to some XP. I picked up my 3rd mithril of the game, made some taproots, and got some more mithril water. I was level 16, had Wick, and was keeping up with the rest of the lobby. I felt like this was the run. I looted some chests and bodies and held on to 3 legendary items from other players. I ran to factory with my Wick buff almost expiring. I figured I needed Wick to win and wasn't sure how I was going to play the final zones. I ended up getting too excited when I saw that the other 4 players had engaged in 2 separate 2v2s. I should have just ran at one of them and tried to clean up, but my Wick expired and I panicked and figured I had to play timer. I knew I couldn't fight the Leon, so I wanted to try my best at killing the Bianca. I didn't end up killing her, just for Leon to kill both Sylvia and Bianca and used a lot of my timer. I got ran down, but I would have died to timer regardless. My best going run so far, and I got 3rd place because I could not have played the final zone any worse. I did have some success though. After playing League of Legends for 10 years, I had trained myself not to tilt and to look at what I could learn and not get discouraged. The skill amp build seemed to be working much better than the crit build, and I decided to stick with it for Game 4. I learned that my PvE take wasn't that bad, and that I could actually put up a fight for Alpha, Omega, and Wick. Game 4 was a bit rough. I had started Forest alone, but didn't manage to get all my items. I must have got super unlucky because I looted 2 whole distribution zones and still didn't get my last pickaxe. I got my items in alley, archery, and hotel, and was looking for a fight. I found a battery on a wolf, and remembered my bread and butter with Rosie, crafted an electron blaster for the XP, and moved out to Clear Beach. There was no one here, so I got some decent mastery from killing everything. Moving on to Forest, the Luke was running a Leon into me, but sadly the Luke missed his ult, so I couldn't third party for the kill. I used up a lot of timer chasing the Leon and getting the wolves, and remember that timer was my downfall in Game 3. I farmed archery, got some crafting XP, and moved to alley to clear it out. Here's where I messed up though. I got the bear, and then I used my W to deny the wolves from Jackie, but it left me vulnerable. I had overstepped and was ran down by the Jackie and died. He was instantly punished by the Bianca after she killed me. Another 10th place finish. Game 5 was a thriller. Still rocking the Ant build, I started looting Forest when I heard some early fighting nearby. We were less than a minute into game, and Luke and Cicella were fighting it out in the red zone. I don't know what was going on there, but I ended up -1ing the Cicella, and the Luke died to red zone timer. Weird start, but I'll take it. I got my items in school and alley and moved to archery to piss off a Zahir. I didn't mean to follow him around griefing him, but I needed to go the way that he was, and I needed all the mastery I could get. If you're watching this Zahir, my bad, don't take it personally. I finished my build and headed to beach for some bears and third-party shenanigans. I poked a Luke off in Adri's body, and I guess he was feeling confident since I had blue items. He went in on me with under half health, and I claimed my kill, as well as the rest of the farm and beach. I managed to grab a meteorite and a mithril and crafted a Kandala for the XP. I suppose mithril water would have been better considering my food situation at the time, but I greeted for that XP. I fled for my life from Sua and noticed the player rate of death was a lot quicker this game than the previous. Day 2 night had just begun and there's only 6 players left. I failed a third party on a Razi fighting a Daniel, but thought about the Razi matchup a bit. I figured this was going to be one of my easier matchups for Aya, if I could just keep her at range. I noticed the Zahir making its way up, but I didn't want to commit to anything. I waited for the Razi and Zahir to engage, but couldn't chase down the Zahir for the kill. I had him trapped in red zone for a bit, but sadly with my damage output, he was able to heal, sacrificing a bit of timer. I took this as a sign that it wasn't meant for me to kill the Zahir, and just ported it out to hospital. I cleaned out the hunts and bided my time until the final zone. I felt like I had pretty good odds against Zahir and Razi, but that Sua was still a problem. I played with fire a bit, poking her off a chest, and thankfully to some quick reactions, I managed to avoid getting comboed. I fled the cemetery and let Razi deal with the Sua, which she did, and it was down to the final 3. This was my best game so far. It was me, Razi, and the Zahir I pissed off. I let Wick go by me because I was scared of getting killed while taking it, but I should have just did it off spawn. I had the time, but I didn't have the vision or the awareness to know. I saw Razi taking Wick and went for a steal. I actually pushed her into the Zahir and stole it. This was the run. Again, I slightly misplaced my W due to lack of experience with Aya, and probably could have picked up the kill on her. I was so close to winning. It was the final 3, I had zone control, and I had Wick buff. Razi picked up the kill on Zahir in the other safe zone, and I assumed that she would be low health. I made the error again of overstepping, and I was ran down and killed just as my W came off cooldown. If I didn't make that half step forward, I would have been able to W her for the kill. Not going to lie, that one hurt a bit. A second place finish where I had all the tools to win and just couldn't execute it. I took a deep breath and didn't let it discourage me. This was progress, and with a few corrections, I'd be able to pull this challenge off. I queued up for game 6, knowing that I was going to make a few errors this game due to how the previous game went, and considered it a write-off. I was right, I got my full build, established vision in archery hotel and school, and then watched a ton of players die quickly. There was only 8 players alive on night 2, and 2 of the 3 zones I was patrolling were closing. I cleaned out school one last time, took a bad fight with Bianca, and died 5th. Game number 7, I had recovered and was focused up again. As per usual, I started Forest, missed pickaxe in 2 distribution zones again, and got alley items. As I was leaving, I ran into a Luke, who left me alone, but also an Adriana who really tried to kill me. I somehow barely got away from her thanks to some good movement, and headed back to archery range for my build. And I ran into another player. I only had 3 blue items at this point, and burned through so much food. I got them, and then ran into Bianca again in hotel. At this point, I wanted revenge, so I engaged her again. She decided to save her timer and teleport out. I had missed pickaxe in forest, almost died in alley, almost died in hotel, had no food, and now only 3 seconds on my timer. This game was a really rough start for me. Aesop decided to drop me a burger as I ran into the Bianca again. This time I managed to kill him, so I'm calling that a 1v1 win. Because death seemed to be following me this game, there was a Yan and an 11 right next to me. They were really only interested in killing me and ran side by side chasing me. I guess the Yan figured I was too far to catch up to and engaged on the 11. I pulled out my sniper skill and stole away the kill on Yan. The 11 was pretty emotional about it because after she healed up, she chased me around Avenue. What a crazy game this was. I decided to try and get back to normal, so I set up vision in school and archery and cleared up the hunts. It was day 2 night and there was only 5 people left in the game. Considering the amount of people I skirmished this game, I was feeling pretty good about my weapon mastery, but not about my food. Fortunately, I don't need a large quantity of food because I died to 1 combo anyways. I just need good quality food to help the tick. It was me, 11, Fiora, Barbara, and Magnus left. Fiora took out both the Barbara and 11 and was becoming a big problem in the lobby. As much as I wanted her gone, I also needed her because there was no possible way I was going to kill Magnus on my own. I cleaned out Beach, which got me some pretty good XP, and found some rare items to help with the crafting. Once again, my Razi instincts strike, and I thought of building Celt with my 4-score, but could not for the life of me find a gun. I figured with all the near deaths that I wasn't going to contest Wick. I figured my best bet was that I could steal it with Magnus and Fiora fighting over it. Unfortunately for me, Fiora killed the Magnus, meaning she got a free Wick take, so there was only 2 of us left. Me versus Wick buff Fiora. I ran the make-believe numbers in my head, and my chance of winning was 0 if I face-checked her, and 0 if she got the jump on me. I took the top path into forest, figuring that would be the safest path, and I was correct. Daytime hit, and this was my only moment. Fiora started running at me, and I fired some warning shots at her. I wanted to hold my W until she dashed because it would force her to pick between dodging and dealing damage. I waited for the second dash, and then eat away to keep my range. Despite having all blue items, I barely lost that trade, and still had my ult as a panic button. I saw her taking health back for 67, while I was only taking for 39. And wanted to force her back into a fight. All I had to do was get her to dash into me with my W on, and then I kited out. I had done it. It took me 7 games, and I pulled it out. If you enjoyed, please be sure to subscribe. I'm thinking about doing more Eternal Return challenges, so comment below what you want to see me try. Thanks so much for watching. I've been Levi, and I'll see you in the next video.